Hey guys, welcome back, and today we are looking at Swapped, a 2026 animated movie about two creatures who could not stand each other and then ended up stuck in each other's bodies, which honestly sounds like the worst possible day. So the movie takes us to a magical place called the Valley. Every single creature here is a mix of animal and plant. Some have bark growing out of their skin, some have leaves on their heads, and it all looks really cool. But things were not always messy here. Long ago, all the animals in the valley lived together without problems, thanks to giant creatures called the Zoo. Think of the Zoo as enormous walking trees, big, slow, and gentle, and they carried magical pods that could change any animal's body and help different creatures understand each other better. But one day a tree wolf stole one of those pods, got the power of fire, turned into the fire wolf, burned down a big part of the valley, blocked the river with a dam, scattered the Zoo, and split up all the animals who used to live side by side. After that, every group stayed in its own corner and stopped trusting anyone else. Now we meet our main character, a young Pookoo named Ollie. Ollie lives with his dad Kalu and his mom, and even as a young one he cannot stop being curious about the rest of the valley. His parents keep warning him to stay away from other creatures, especially the Javans, bird-like creatures that look like a mix between an owl and a parrot. One day young Ollie wanders off and finds a young Javan named Ivy sitting on a branch, trying to open a food pod. Ollie shows her how to press it open, seeds fall out, they eat together, and it seems like a nice moment. But then Ivy calls her flock, more Javans arrive, they take over the Pookoo's food supply, and the Pookoos get pushed out. The whole group blames Ollie for what happened, and he ends up living on the outside of the Pookoo community. Fast forward to when Ollie is grown up. He is still trying to figure out how to get the Pookoo's land back when he runs into a grown-up Ivy again, who is now leading her own Javan group including her two sisters Violet and Lily. Neither of them recognizes the other from when they were young. Ollie tries using glass shards to drive the Javans away. Things go wrong, a Javan attacks him, and he falls into a hole in the ground. At the bottom sits a glowing magical pod left behind by a dead Zoo. It attaches to Ollie, and when he climbs back out, he is now in the body of a Javan. Wings, feathers, and absolutely no clue what to do with any of it. Ivy finds him looking lost and confused, and she and her sisters bring him along. The group then meets a large, friendly, and very talkative fish named Boogle. Boogle tells them about another pod nearby. Ollie rushes toward it, but Ivy gets in the way at the wrong moment.
So you can turn back into a Pookoo.
And now Ivy is in a Pookoo body while Ollie is still in a Javan body. Neither of them is happy about this. Boogle tells them there is another pod near the great waterfall further into the valley, and with no other option, Ollie and Ivy agree to travel together even though they do not like each other at all. As they move through the valley, they run into tree wolves, root snakes, and rock bears, and since they are in the wrong bodies, they have no choice but to teach each other. Ivy teaches Ollie how to use Javan wings and Ollie teaches Ivy how a Pookoo moves and uses its smell. Slowly, through all of this, each of them starts to understand what the other's life is actually like. Ollie also learns something important during the journey. Ivy only brought her flock to the Pookoo's island in the first place because the food at Javan Rock was running low and several of her flock, including her own parents, had already died from not having enough to eat. So it was never just greed, it was survival. They make it to the great waterfall area and find the pods. Ollie and Ivy use them to change back to their original forms. Then Boogle stands there acting like he is deciding what to become, and that is when everything changes. Boogle reveals he is not just a fish. He is actually the fire wolf, the same dangerous creature from the old story Ollie's grandmother told him. The fire wolf had once been a weak, outcast tree wolf that no other creature wanted around, and because of that he turned bitter and promised himself he would one day burn the valley and rule over whatever was left. He managed to do serious damage before the Zoo used their pod to trap him inside the body of a fish so he could not cause more harm. He spent all that time as Boogle waiting for someone he could trick into helping him find more pods, and Ollie and Ivy were exactly who he needed. He turns back into the fire wolf right in front of them, goes after Ivy, grabs her, and throws her aside before Ollie pulls her to safety. The fire wolf starts moving through the valley destroying everything in his path, and now Ollie and Ivy have a much bigger problem on their hands than just getting their own bodies back. Ollie takes Ivy back to the Pookoo island to get her looked after, and then he goes to his father Kalu and explains everything: the pods, the Zoo, the fire wolf, and the fact that all the creatures of the valley are in danger. Kalu listens, and this time he trusts his son. He agrees to open the island as a safe place for all the valley creatures to come and take shelter. But the fire wolf tracks them all down and shows up at the island too. With everything at stake, Ollie runs back to the pit where he first fell and found his very first pod. He reaches into the magical roots at the bottom and sends a message to the Zoo, asking for help. The Zoo respond and send him a new pod. Ollie uses it to transform himself into a Zoo, big, tall, and covered in a kind of energy that the Firewolf cannot simply overpower with fire. Ollie moves toward the Firewolf and the two of them fight, crashing through the valley until they reach the dam. Their clash breaks the dam open, water comes rushing through and floods the area, and the Firewolf's fire goes out. Both Ollie and the Firewolf get swept away in the flood, and Ollie disappears under the water. Everyone on the island thinks Ollie is gone. They look for him but find nothing, and a quiet comes over the valley. Then something happens that no one expected. The Zoo, who had scattered and disappeared from the valley years ago, start coming back. They walk slowly back into the valley, and with them, they bring Ollie. The Zoo had pulled him from the water and changed him back into his Pookoo form. Ollie is alive. He walks back to his family and to Ivy, and they are all together again. With the Firewolf defeated and the dam broken, the river starts flowing freely again. The Pookoos and Javans start living side by side. Other creatures do the same. The valley, for the first time in a very long time, starts to feel like one place again,